Hello, I'm Scott with Small World's Big Adventures. Today we're going to be talking about Age of Wonders 4, the Ogre update. That is a free update for the game that just came out a couple weeks ago. By the time you're seeing this, this does not include the Giant Kings DLC, which will be a separate video, which we will get to later. The Ogre update is a large update, may be the biggest one that they've done so far. I'm not sure. They didn't comment on that, or if they did, I didn't catch it. But it has it comes with pretty much a total rework of the feudal culture, a bunch of graphical updates, big changes to the way Underground works. The Item Forge has some edits. Siege battles have some heavy edits, as well as a bunch of quality of life changes. We won't be going over everything here. You should definitely check the patch notes, which we will link down below, as there are a lot of little changes, but we will go over some of my favorites and some of the bigger ones in this video. We'll start with the faction creation. There's some new things with that. One is they added a lighting button. So as you create your ruler and your followers, now you're not just always under the harsh red light of a dead sun. You can actually have it lit up in nice bright sunshine and see what you're doing. So that's a pretty welcome change there. They've added a head and hand slider, so you can change the size of those. As you can see, the hands can go big and small, and your heads can go really big down to a pipsqueak pinhole size head. They've added new body and voice options, so you can go through and switch out what your basic race's body looks like. I believe the options are human, dwarf, orc, elf, and goblin. So you can start with a different starting shape for that. Similar with the voice, you can basically give your race any other race's voice. If you went humans with goblin noises running around on the battlefield, that's a thing you can do. They've also added new horse colors to the basic horse mount option. There's a handful of different colors that you can choose from for the basic horse. This also includes the pony-sized horse, same color options. It does not include the stark white horse mount that just simply is that mount option. There is, of course, in addition to the Pantheon unlocks, they've added 13 new rewards as you finish your campaigns that you can choose from. The first one is a new cave bear mount option, which I'm pretty sure this is a badger, a giant badger. So if you want to ride around on giant badgers, here's an option for you. As you go through, there's some new banner symbols, as well as a few new starting weapons and items for your heroes, well, for your leader. There's also a new starting trait, which is a really good one for starting underground, as it gives you a lot of advantages, including additional food, and especially when you're doing excavation, it gives you a chance of having an additional resource when you find a resource, which is great. Moving on to realm creation, there's a few additions here. The big one is now, instead of having 4 creation slots, you have 8. I myself tend to prefer to have 5 up and running, so this is really great for me, but it gives you more options to add to create crazy realms. There are a few new aspects to realms, including subdued infestations. So if you don't like infestations, this reduces the amount of them right from the start. There's also now an option for removing underground starts, so everybody has to start on the surface if you prefer to have your world start that way. They've also done updates for visuals for the overworld map and for battle maps. One thing they've added is city sprawl. So now as your cities expand further and further, you see more and more buildings appear further out from your main province, which is, I think, a neat little thing to show you taking over more and more of the world. The underground now has 3 different types of biomes. It has the basic underground, it has a lava zone, and it has an ice zone. And the ice zone is, I think, particularly neat with its blue and white ice and ice walls. Comes out pretty good. Lava gameplay has been changed a little bit. Now certain units can walk over lava, including giants, certain constructs, and golems. Units that can walk over lava can also create roads for other units that can't. Flying units can now fly over lava once you have, I believe, water walking or water sailing. And you can also annex lava zones and put gold or production buildings on them. There are 10 new combat maps, so you have a little bit more range when you get into combat in the overworld, so that's very exciting. And Ancient Wonders now have extra adventures. So I believe their goal is to have at least 3 adventures per Ancient Wonder, so it's not always the same thing when you go and enter those dead trees. Siege battles have been updated. They've, across the board, lowered siege times. Seems to me about an average of 3 to 4 turns to lay a siege to a town, depending on what defenses they've got up. There are massive changes to the siege options. Most of them don't decrease siege time. They give you some sort of advantage in combat, which they've also increased the amount of battles that sieges can happen in. So if you sally out from a city, you will go onto the siege map instead of just a random regular map, which I think is a good and neat thing. They want sieges to be more of an impactful and fun experience. There have been big changes to the item forge. Now, in addition to binding essence, there are binding fragments. Binding fragments are needed in order to make tier 3 and tier 4 items now, and you can get those by breaking down tier 3 and tier 4 items, as well as a number of other miscellaneous ways to gather those. The binding essence has been increased in when you disenchant items. Usually you get an additional 20 per level of the item that you disenchant. Crafting duration has been lowered. Tier 1 and Tier 2 items now take 0 turns to make. Tier 3 and Tier 4 can take somewhere between 1 and 3 turns, it seems, so that's faster. This is essentially, I think, a nerf to the item forge, but for new players, they're not going to notice anything, and honestly, I don't think it's a bad nerf. It just takes some getting used to. Also to note here, enemy heroes no longer give you all of their items when you capture them and sell off their bodies. Now they only give you their best item, when you capture them in battle. So it will make culture. The Ogre update also includes a major rework for the feudal culture. A brief overview is that it now has 2 sub-factions, monarchy and aristocracy. The feudal culture is now considered the basic starting culture, specifically the monarchy version of it. It's actually a really good culture for people who have not played before to use, because most of their bonuses are passive, so you don't have to worry about how to manage them. Honestly, it's a pretty strong culture now. The monarchy especially is very defensive, so a new player should be able to ease into this a lot easier than the other cultures, which I really like. That being said, it's actually, especially the aristocracy version of it, is also got a lot for well-experienced players, I think. Again, a lot of their stuff is pretty passive, but it's really strong and has a lot of good options. One of their big new abilities is some of their troops evolve, in quotation marks. They're actually considered aspirants because they don't have the evolve trait, so they can't be affected by anything that does affect evolve, but they do technically do the same thing as evolves. They change into new units when they hit legendary status. Their troops include the militia. Militia are similar to their old units, but now they don't get produced by cities. They don't get trained. Instead, they are created or summoned through a spell, which creates 2 of them. They have very cheap 1 gold upkeep to begin with, so you can pretty much spam this spell and spam these troops to help defend cities or help augment your forces early and mid-game. They're honestly really good. They die super easy, but it doesn't matter because you can keep making more and more and more of them. They also include the Defender, which when it upgrades troops also include the Defender, a tier 1 shield unit, which is pretty decent, and it becomes a Liege Guard later for the Aristocracy. It includes the Archer, which is a ranged unit, which is also tier 1, and later will become a Longbowman for the Monarchy. Tier 2 includes the Bannerman, which I think is now one of the best healers in the game. It's a good support unit. Units next to it get +1 defense and +1 resistance. My only complaint is that its heal is only 1 hex range, but now it can be mounted, and that's pretty rare for support units, which makes it a lot quicker. You also get Aspirant Knights, which are a shock unit, pretty decent, and actually does a lot of damage to isolated units. That can also be evolved into the Knight, and the Knight is for both sub-factions. Longbow is a tier 3 unit, and its big thing is that it gets to fire at 7 hex range if it uses all 3 action points, which is really, really good. Liege Guard is a tier 3 shield unit, and it has Liege Bond, which allows it to take damage that a hero would normally be taking, which makes it a really good defender. And then at the first cultural tier 4 unit, the Knight, the only way to get this is for an Aspirant Knight to evolve into it, and it's just a really strong shock troop. The two big differences between Monarchy and Aristocracy. So Monarchy, any troops with your leader will get for the Monarch, and they will get +1 defense and resistance, and they get +10% damage and +10 morale. This is a really good bonus in combat. They will also get this if they're fighting anywhere in your territories, and there's a spell that will give it to them if they're not fighting with your leader. These are really great passive bonuses. 10% damage is always good. Any extra defense and resistance is great. Also, any troops that are in the stack army with your leader will have fully -100% upkeep. So again, lets you start out strong with essentially a free army, and that's super great, especially early on, especially if you're not used to the game. It helps your economy a whole lot. Aristocracy, on the other hand, gets a similar bonus, but every city has its own hero, which creates its own house, so the troops have to be from the same city as the hero leads. And they get Liege Lord, which gives them -10% upkeep. They heal 5 health per turn on the map, and then they get +10%, +10 hit points, and +5 morale in combat, and all of those go up as the leader gets renown. And each city gets its own house, which can create its own banner with a different color and a different symbol, and you can name the houses, and that's a pretty neat ability, but it helps you keep track of where troops come from. There's a whole big system about where summoned troops come from. If you summon it next to the leader, then it will be part of their house. If you summon it next to a city, it become whatever that city's house is. Also, your units that you get through Rally of Lieges can now be assigned to a specific city, which I believe is applied across all the cultures, not just feudal, but for feudal, whichever city you send it to, it will become part of that house for that leader. So that's one. Overall, my thoughts for the Ogre update is it's probably my favorite and maybe the best update they've done so far. The other two really big updates that were kind of game changers in their time was the change in heroes, and adding classes with that update was really huge. It really changed how heroes work. Before that, the addition of the item forge was a big deal and still is. But this update has just a lot to it. The game map looks a lot better with custom areas added onto it. The change for the feudal is maybe not a better culture than Mystic did with their change, but honestly, it's just such a solid change for feudal that it's really impressive. The siege update is probably good. It's a little early for me to really have much of an opinion on that. I've only done a couple of siege battles. It is quicker, but you can't really alter that time a whole lot without really specializing in that. Adding the faction realm creation being 8 slots now instead of 4 is something that I really like a lot. Also, it keeps your changes from realm to realm, which is, I thought, something they needed to do for quite a while, having to go in and change all of the advanced settings every time you wanted to create a new realm was a little annoying. Yeah, this is probably my favorite of the free DLCs they've done so far. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed this brief overview of the Ogre update for Age of Wonders 4. Again, this is the free update that just came out a couple weeks ago. This does not include the Giant Kings DLC. Would love for you to like and subscribe. You can hit that notification bell if you want to notify when I do get the Giant Kings, my thoughts on the DLC for that downloaded. Spoiler, I like it a lot. Comment down below if you have differing opinions or if you have any questions about anything for the DLC, and I'll see you again soon.